Hello and welcome to Opportunity Home San Antonio's regular board meeting. Please note that this meeting will be recorded in its entirety. Remember to turn on your microphone and speak into it. The red light will turn on when the microphone is active. I will now begin to conduct Commissioner roll call. Chairperson Gabriel Lopez.
Here.
Vice Chair Gilbert Casillas. Commissioner Delia Contreras.
Here.
Commissioner Estrellita Garcia Diaz.
Here.
Commissioner Janet Garcia.
Here.
Commissioner Leela Powell.
Here.
And Commissioner Vincent Robinson.
Here.
Doug Ponick, Board of Commissioners Attorney.
I'm here.
President and CEO Ed Hinojosa Jr.
Here.
And we have an interpreter available in the back if you need their services. You may now call the meeting to order.
Thank you. The Board of Commissioners or its committee may hold a closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071-076 for consultation concerning attorney-client matters, real estate, litigation, personnel, and security matters. The board or committee reserves the right to enter into closed meeting at any time during the course of the meeting. I understand we have citizens to be heard.
Yes, we have individuals signed to speak for citizens you heard. The first is Marceline Newman.
Good morning. Good afternoon. I am here on behalf of the Lavaca Neighborhood Association. We have several of our other residents that are here and are also signed up to speak. I was here speaking to you about a year ago regarding concerns over the Victoria Commons development, and we have tried over the last year to coordinate with Opportunity Home, Catellus, your developers, and others for the communication that we have been begging for from this board for over 2 years. We are in a silent vacuum from this board. Over the last 6 weeks, we have sent no less than half a dozen emails and requests to be on your agenda, requests for meeting, requests for conversation, and requests for updates from this board, and we have been met with silence. The neighborhood association, the Lavaca Neighborhood Association president has sent emails. I have sent emails. Councilwoman Carr has sent emails. Her staff, Ryan Saltz, has sent emails, and not once have we received a response from staff or this board regarding the information that we are begging for. We were promised updates on a regular basis regarding this development and the property, and we have received nothing. The website is inadequate and down. The people that worked for Catellus who spoke with us no longer apparently work for that organization, but we don't hear anything from the board. So in the last year, we've talked about the failure of the Opportunity Home Board and staff to respond to the Lavaca Neighborhood Association is completely unacceptable. You serve at the discretion of the citizens of the city of Bexar County and San Antonio, and we would appreciate regular communication we were promised. We've had documented increases in crime, disturbances, criminal activity in and around the Victoria Commons site in the last 6 months since the Victoria Plaza reopened. We've had 3 shootings in the last 3 weeks. We have burglaries of habitations. We have people accosting us from the Victoria Plaza on the street, offering all manner of things that are not suitable for a neighborhood. We have graffiti all over the YMCA building, which is illegally and nearly consistently occupied by people that don't live there, obviously, but it's occupied. They've painted over the graffiti in the last 2 days, finally, after 3 weeks of asking for that to be taken care of. So the YMCA building is an eyesore, and it's an attractive nuisance for criminals and... May I take your time? I'm taking Mindy's time. The graffiti's been painted over, but it becomes a constant attraction for those that are either illegally occupying the structure or as a hideout for those that are engaging in criminal behavior. The lack of security, the lack of lighting around the Victoria Commons construction site has posed an increased hazard for neighbors who no longer feel safe in their own backyards. We've had break-ins while habitations were occupied. We had a carjacking at 10:30 p.m. on the street the other night. And this all comes from the Victoria Commons construction site because it is insecure. There's no lighting, you have no security patrols around there, and that needs to be addressed. These are the things that we've been asking for meetings with Opportunity Home for over a year, but you failed to respond. You have failed the Lavaca Neighborhood Association in that regard. The loss of park and community spaces with no communication as to what will happen for the basketball courts, the picnic areas, or any of the other areas around the park is inexcusable. And the near constant trash in the neighborhood now because the occupants of Victoria Plaza go to the little convenience store, they can't drink on their property, so they come drink in the neighborhood and throw their tall boy cans all over the streets. We're tired of it. We've been asking for your help. We've been asking for your assistance, and you have failed to respond. And we'd like to know when these people become problems in these facilities, the disturbance calls, the criminal behavior, how is that addressed? Are they removed from those facilities, or do they just stay there and the neighbors have to learn to live with it? We'd like some answers. We'd like the meeting that we've requested for over a year. We'd like it in particular with those that are adjacent to the Victoria Commons property and the surrounding areas. But we don't know how to communicate with you anymore because you don't respond. Not to emails, not to phone calls, not through your speak up portals. We need to know what's the solution, and we can't provide it to you. We're doing everything we can short of going to the media, and that will be our next step. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kaisha Gibbs.
I am actually new to the area. I've been living in the area for about a year and something, and as of August, since that building has gone up, crime in our area has increased. My question to you, as all of you sit on this board, how would you all feel if this was happening in your neighborhood? Is it going to take someone to die in our area for you guys to step up with patrol? Where's the compassion for the people that live there that don't create problems? Why should we have to walk out of our home and feel like we're not safe? My husband and I used to take walks at night. We don't do that anymore. And why? Because you're being accosted by thuggish people. I grew up in the hood. I know what the hood looks like. I know what happens when you don't do something. If you don't get police officers in there, and the ones that have responded, they're amazing, they're incredible. But the reality is you cannot take down lights in an area and not put up lights to keep it from happening. Put the lights up so that our streets feel safer, and that it keeps them as a deterrent out of our area. The police officers told us, they're like, the biggest problem that you guys have is that you don't have enough lights here. But seriously, think about it. Does someone have to die for you guys to give us a meeting to respond back? Ask yourself, if it's your home, do you want to be violated in your home? Should our neighbor who's in his house see on a ring that someone's breaking into his car and then is being shot at? And luckily enough, he wasn't killed, because he could have been. And then what? Then that falls on you guys. You're supposed to be doing your jobs. Your jobs is protecting our community. If you care about a community, you step in and you take control of it in the beginning. Don't wait for it to be years later and then go, oh, well, we knew this was happening, but we're gonna look the other way because it's not in my backyard. There are small children that live in that area. I'm sorry, if you're a mother and you're walking down the street with your baby, why should you feel unsafe? Why should you have someone breaking down your door? Someone kicked in our door. Would that be acceptable for all of you? Is that considered to be the norm? Because to me, when I first moved there, it was like, wow, this area is incredible. It's quiet, it's safe, nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, this past August, everything just started increasing. Every week, it was like something else. Someone's car got broken into, somebody's bike got stolen. Then to have the amount of shootings in a short period of time, that is a warning sign to you guys. And the fact that you're not even taking a meeting or even responding is irresponsible on all of your parts. You can sit there and you may be like, oh, she's just another body. All these people in here, they care enough to show up. And to put a meeting on a day when people are working is irresponsible. Have it on a weekend where everybody in the community can come out and speak. The lack of your concern is disgusting.
Our next speaker is Jerry Gibbs.
I've spoke to every single one of our neighbors pretty much on the 500 and 600 block of Lavaca. And since August, almost every single person has had a bike stolen, has had something stolen off of their property. We've never had that problem before. It never happened until that new place opened up. I as well grew up in Southern California, very close to the Nickerson Garden Housing Project, so I know what it is to live in that area. And when I see the type of people that are now walking around our streets that don't live on our streets every single day, every single night, I know what they're up to and I know what they're doing because I've experienced it. Maybe some of you, maybe most of you have no idea what I'm talking about. I can tell you every single person has either had their car broken into, their garage broken into. This never happened until you guys allowed that Victoria home to open up. The other night, my wife and I came home. We had 5 guys that were definitely hoodlums that approached our car, smoking weed and holding beers in their hand and trying to stop the car. I was ready to just crash right into them. I could care less. And I just bulldozed right through them, like, get out of the way. I cannot walk on my street at night anymore. Our house, my wife didn't mention, somebody tried to break into our house about a month ago. They kept kicking the door in, kicking the door. And the neighbors called, and the police came and got them, and they arrested them. But we had to have our door repaired, and we had to pay for it, to have the locks fixed on our door. I can tell you this, most of our neighbors that can't be here, because I don't know why you schedule, I'm a musician, so I work at night. My wife doesn't work until the evening, so we're able to be here. Most of our neighbors are like, we can't make it, we can't get out of work, we can't come. But almost every one of our neighbors is saying, if something is not done now, not tomorrow, now, they're connected to the TV. I have one neighbor that knows all of Ken's 5. Ken's 5 was on their way to us, and Lavaca board meeting knew about it, and they said, please wait, give us an opportunity to contact you guys and make sure that you guys are going to do something. Well, now we've had our answer, and it's going to be very, very hard for Lavaca to control our street. Our street is ready to go crazy. We're going to contact Ken's 5, all the news channels. I know the mayor personally because he used to run KRTU, the jazz radio station, and I started that radio station 22 years ago, and he knows I started that station. So, I mean, it's at this point, you guys have to do something. It's never ending. We've had 3 shootings in 3 weeks, and we're not going to put up with it anymore. You're going to have to do what is necessary. And we're not going to put up for anything less than that. We're not going to live on a dangerous street when we spent all this money for all these properties. We're not going to do it anymore. So you guys have very little time, but you're going to have to take care of it now, or you're going to be the biggest public thing in San Antonio. Everybody's going to know who you are, and that's it. We can't control our neighbors. They are going to go nuts if this is not taken care of tomorrow, not next month, not in 2 months. We want lights up. We want everything done immediately, because you're not going to come in and destroy our neighborhood. If we came in and destroyed your neighborhood, you wouldn't put up with it. You're not going to come into and destroy our neighborhood. We cannot walk on Mount Zion. It's black out there. We can't see anything. I walked out the other day, right, and I took a picture of it. I can show it to you. Right on my sidewalk, right in front of my door, condoms, used ones. What the hell are you? What am I living in? Where am I living? On Skid Row? Condoms on my street. Really? What's going on? Of course we know what's going on. Condoms are not used. Condoms are not just sitting there on the street because they fell out of somebody's pocket. So you're going to have to do something, because our neighborhood, 500 and 600 block, and the liquor store, we're not putting up with it anymore. I'm sorry to sound like a complete violent maniac, but I have a wife. I'm gone a lot. I'm not going to let her live in it. We moved to that neighborhood because it was nice and it was beautiful until you guys came in and did what you guys are allowing to happen. It's the projects. That's not an affordable building. That's becoming the projects. I grew up around Nickerson, Jordan, Long Beach projects. I know what projects are, and I know what I see when I see the people that are hanging out at night drinking beer and doing so. I come home at night, every night at 3 and 4 in the morning from my gigs, and I just see the street is just full of hoodlums, and it's your fault that they're there. You allowed it to happen, and you got to clean it up now, because we're not going to put up, you're going to be famous. You're going to be broadcast all over the news. And every neighbor, 40 or 50 neighbors that I've talked to are like, this wonderful lady said, she said, give us a chance. Don't do this yet. Let us go this direction. So here we are. And if we don't see some changes like now, not next month, not 2 months, because somebody's almost got killed. That guy shot his own partner. They were trying to rob that guy, and he was shooting at the neighbor, but he shot his own guy by accident, and he ran off. He was shooting somebody. You want to have your kids shot at? And these were hoodlums. These are not just guys. These are guys that are coming from there. And every cop, you talk to any cop in our neighborhood, I've talked to 5 of them. One is a constable. He said, ever since that place opened up, it's a madhouse over here for us.
Yeah.
The cops are saying that to us. So we need you to do something about it today, starting today, not next month. So anyways, I'm sorry I went over my time.
Our next speaker is Eddie Elizalde.
Good afternoon. Eddie Elizalde. I'm at 519 Lee Street. As everyone's already spoken, we're here to talk about the security and the fact that basically you have 2 issues. You have the YMCA building and you have Victoria Towers. Both of those are creating havoc in the neighborhood. With the YMCA building already set to be demolished, I would implore you to go ahead and demolish it, because it is, if you go inside the building, it's already gutted, all the drywall's down, they pulled all the electrical, they pulled all the copper. There are homeless people, drug people going in there and staying there every night. No matter how you secure that fence will be removed and they get back in there. One of the other things too is the fact that we've actually started keeping a log, my wife, of all the incidents. So I'm just going to read you this log that we have starting on October 24th. Car break-in, gunshots fired, reported. October 25th, gunshots heard. November 11th, gunshots heard 11 p.m., reported police until they had no idea where our street was. November 12th, gunshots heard at 5:20 a.m. November 15th, non-emergency called about a guy with a shopping cart walking around behind the houses. He actually went through our trash, went into between our houses and went through our trash on our property. Homeless guy going through trash at Lee Street. Suspicious activity, 2 guys wearing all black riding bikes left there after being noticed, not reported. Gunshots, 2 vehicles seen going down Lee Street, shooting on the 500 block, reported. Someone knocking on doors asking for money, and that's November 28th. November 29th, attempted car break-in at 519 Lee Street. We have the video. Basically, they went up to our car trying to get in. December 3rd, guy passed out at the corner clinic, the medical center. December 3rd, again, homeless guy hanging out and talking to the corner store wall, pacing back and forth on Lee Street. December 4th, car parked by mailboxes, got out, walked behind the corner store. It was very dark, and then walked back to his car. That corner store, on the side of that, they gather for drug deals. Our other neighbor who lives on that corner has cars, documented drug deals going down there. So we're asking that if you're going to tear this YMCA, it needs to be torn down immediately. And although we can't share the video, our house was the one that got shot at just a couple of weeks ago. Our neighbor had just had a kiddie party all afternoon for her 3-year-old daughter and their 18-month-old son. She was outside cleaning up. And although I can't show you the video, I want you to listen to it. That's the first round of gunshots. Second one. Third time. And our neighbor was outside cleaning up from a kiddie party, and she had to run inside. And I have that video, and I will gladly send it to anyone and everyone that wants to see it. Thank you.
So in conclusion, on behalf of the neighbors along Lee Street, Callahan, Labor, Barrera, Camargo, Lavaca, and everyone in the Lavaca Neighborhood Association, we implore you to take this meeting with the neighbors. Tell us firsthand what you are going to do about security, getting that site secured, getting some lights up, and communicating with us on a regular basis. This is your property. It's your responsibility. Like any other citizen, if I had a piece of property that was an attractive nuisance, I'd be cited by the city of San Antonio. You have an attractive nuisance that you're doing nothing about, and we want it fixed. So on behalf of the neighbors that are here today, that took off work, because yes, this is an inconvenient time for most people who work, they're here and they're speaking up, but I'm speaking on behalf of the Neighborhood Association as a whole, and we're begging for your help and your communication. Thank you.
Minerva Gomez ceded their time to Marceline Newman. Thank you. That concludes citizens to be heard.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3, 2023 TPS Safety Grant Program Award, Jennifer Dominguez, Senior Risk Manager, Alan Hall, Loss Control Director.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is Jennifer Dominguez, and I'm the Senior Risk Manager here at Opportunity Home. I oversee the Risk Management Department, and we do insurance management for the organization. As part of our department's focus is loss prevention, and with that, that's identifying opportunities for preparedness efforts within the organization. So you may have met myself or my team out in an emergency where we are responding, where we are prepared to respond. It is equally important that we are proactive and that we are doing preparedness efforts as well. So we work closely with our operations team to ensure that emergency efforts are comprehensive and that they are effective. But today I'd like to share one thing that we have been working on for our preparedness efforts. We have been working on getting our fleet vehicles equipped with emergency kits in all of our vehicles. So we went ahead and we applied for a safety grant, and I'd like to introduce Alan Hall. Mr. Hall is here with us today. He's from Texas Political Subdivision, which is our insurance carrier. And Mr. Hall is the Loss Control Director at TPS. He is here today to award us the safety grant, which we applied for to purchase those vehicle kits. All of the vehicle kits have been purchased and they have been placed in our vehicles, but we are excited to have Mr. Hall here today with us to present us with the big check. So that way we can have a nice opportunity. I invite you to take a photo with us and the big check, and of course, if you have any questions, Mr. Hall and I are available.
Thank you. Do you want to do that now? Okay.
And Amanda will be taking our photo.
Okay. Board, you want to join me up front? Okay, looks like we need to move to our minutes. We have, we need approval of the November 1st regular board meeting minutes, the November 15th Finance Committee meeting, and the 15th Operations and Real Estate Committee meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Let's see. Without any questions, we have consent items 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 that were covered during our Real Estate Operations Committee meeting last. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. A first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, consent items are approved, 5 through 11. Individual items. Number 12, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6410 and 23 FAC-12-06, authorizing San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of the Culebra Commons project. Miranda Castro, you're up.
Good afternoon, Board. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to bring this for you. So this Culebra Commons is a project that we have not come to the committee meeting, so I am bringing this directly to you for your consideration and approval. As a reminder, just to kind of go back on some of the history of this project. So the Culebra Commons is a current deal within the partnership portfolio. So it is a PFC deal, which is a public facility corporation deal, and that they are a tax credit development that is outside of the of the tax credit exit period, compliance exit period. I'll get it together at one of these points. And so we have this deal, and I am requesting approval to move forward on the sale of our leasehold interest in this property. So this project is, the board had previously approved this project. It is 327 units. It is a mixture, it's a family building. It's a mixture of 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms. Approximately 100, so it's 50% with 164 units are income restricted at 80% AMI. Currently, the Lind Company is the developer and manager on this project. What I am asking you today is to approve the insertion of a new equity investor and transfer the leasehold interest. So a little bit of the history. Delvin, can you go to the next slide, please? So the NEF partnership was a deal that the board had previously approved prior to this new board coming along. Unfortunately, due to the rising interest rate, that deal was not able to move forward because the debt was just going to be too expensive for the property to move on. Now we have been approached by an Origin partnership, and it will be with Lind being the partner, and Opportunity Home will stay in the project as the general partner to give the tax abatement. The wonderful thing about this deal is that in light of these current interest rates, prime 7 interest rates, we are still getting a very equitable, almost the more money as the distribution on this property, and so this is a really good deal for us to move forward on. We're going to maintain a 75-year ground lease with the ground lease started in 2019, so it will go from 75 years from that point. We will receive a 15% of the project cash flow. And then the 5-year projections, we're looking at having an additional $5.6 million that we will be getting, in addition to the today payment of $6.7 million that we're getting. So this is a very favorable deal for us to move forward on. And then this is just a little bit of a snapshot about Origin Investments. So they are a private institutional investment firm. We will, from day to day at Opportunity Home, not have any involvement with this company. Our day-to-day contact will still be with Lind, and we have a really good working relationship with that entity. And so my recommendation to the board is to allow the transfer of the leasehold interest and to move forward on this.
Thank you, Miranda. Board, do y'all have any questions on this deal?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to note that I'm an employee of LISC, which is an affiliate of NEF. Although NEF is no longer being considered in this transaction, I wanted to be transparent about that relationship.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions with regards to the sale? Okay. With no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I motion we move forward with item number 12.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item number 13, consideration and approval regarding Resolution 6411 and 23 LVPFC-12-06, authorizing Los Vadas Public Facility Corporation to approve an inducement resolution for the proposed tax-exempt bond financing of Phase 1 of the Augustine at Palo Alto Apartments project. Susan Ramos, yeah, Susan, how are you?
And so just the presentation is covering the two phases. So there's two resolutions, two sets. It's item 13 and 14.
Okay, we'll hear for both of those now.
Okay. So the Augustine at Palo Alto is another opportunity for us to grow affordable housing. So today we're requesting approval for bond inducement for Phase 1 and 2. The proposed development will add approximately 720 affordable units at a total of 34 acres of land. Approval will allow us, this project, to get in line for bond reservation with the anticipated action in 2024. If successful, we will get a bond reservation letter that specifies our trigger date, and then we would have 100 days to close. Approving these resolutions today and allowing us for bond inducement will also preserve the development's opportunity for a 30% tax credit boost that is available through their qualified census tract. So based on that, they're eligible, and that will go away at the end of the year. At this point, Opportunity Home has no financial obligation in the project or participation commitment, but we will have an opportunity at a later date to increase our participation to include possibly serving as a general partner. In the future, the developer will complete a financial package and submit it to Opportunity Home for final approval, and then we will bring that back to the board. The development is located in South San Antonio, west of A&M San Antonio, directly across the street from Palo Alto. There's a lot of activity happening in that area. As you can see, the resource centers, it's north of A&M San Antonio, south of Port San Antonio, and nearby the Brook area. So Phase 1, it's City Council District 4, Southwest ISD. The total approximate units, 648, with the bedroom mix, including 1 to 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. The unit mix includes 30%, 60%, and 70%. And as I mentioned, they're going to pursue tax credits, and the total development cost is approximately $81 million. And the performer further breaks down the cost. Phase 2 is almost adjacent to Phase 1, so it's the same city council district, same school district, 372 units. It also includes 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms, and also includes 30%, 60%, and 70% AMI. Total development cost for Phase 2 is $84 million. And the performa provides further details. And based on feedback from the board, last time we did invite the developer. So Mr. Papoon, Stephen Papoon is here today. So in case y'all have any questions of the developer, he's available.
Board, do y'all have any questions? And as a reminder, this just allows this particular project to move forward to the next step. We will see it again as they start moving forward on their deals.
I think it might be helpful for just board edification in the future. Now, I have the chart that talks about the phases, like saying where we're at. I'm assuming we're in phase 1, right? The very top, the group we're adding
Correct.
a new in. And so knowing that, I'm wondering about, separate from this deal, behind the scenes, we're trying to revamp what's in these agreements to ensure that when we get to 15 years, that the condition the property has been kept in good condition, that, should we decide to buy back, that we're not in similar situations to what we have been with other partners. So I'm just wondering where we're at with that and what your commitment is to ensuring that longevity of the property.
Sure. I want to say that this has been a great partnership with you folks. We have won 3 awards now. Lawn Gardens was the first, then Majestic Ranch, and we just found out Friday, Mira Vista. All that we've built for you have been just absolutely terrific and are going to be great properties for you. We're builders. We don't take participation in the cash flow. We build, we fill it up, we hand you the keys, and it's all yours. And so, but the properties themselves have huge cash reserves, okay, and they're replenished every year to keep the quality of the property up. Management company, whomever you choose, I assume will do the same. The properties are very heavily regulated. Everybody who comes to lease has to qualify financially and cannot have committed a crime against persons or property. So we have a very secure, gated community with tons of amenities. We market to 50 veterans organizations. We market very heavily to seniors, even though we're not a seniors property, because we have extensive services that we provide. We were the first ones to have a swimming pool that had a ramp to go down into it, so you could have a wheelchair or some other assistance to get into the pool. We were the first ones to do underground sprinkler systems, for example. Not only does it save 60% on evaporation, but sometimes the water, as you know from sprinklers, will get out on the sidewalks and things like that and present a hazard to seniors, which I happen to be one. And so all these things contribute to the success and continued success of the property. So, and we've built 15 of these, 4,000 units. We've won awards on 7 of them. And we use the same development team, same architects, et cetera, and it's been a tremendous experience. We help people that are less fortunate than all of us, let's put it that way.
So let me just add also, at this point, we're just requesting the bond application. In the event that we decide to act as a general partner and enter into an agreement, that would be probably the summer we would find out if there's an approval of the bonds, and we would actually begin negotiating the agreement we have with the developer. Steve has been great about allowing us to have the flexibility of maintaining the cash flow, and that gives us the ability to deepen the affordability as long as we can meet the cash flow needs of the property. And that's one area where he's differed from other developers. And so we've done a number of projects with him, and we're continuing to work with our bond attorney, Jim Plummer, to work through the details that you're asking about. Also, I have had the first meeting with the city and with the Housing Trust to talk about standardization of terms, and we have a follow-up meeting scheduled in January, so we're moving forward with that as well. So I think by summer, when we are in a position to look at a deeper interest in this property, we would be in a better position to identify the specific requirements around the transaction.
I have a question about, and first of all, thank you for looking at the 3 and 4 bedroom unit needs in the community.
Mm-hmm.
We know that families are a segment that's having increasing difficulty finding availability of affordable units. But I note that both of these projects are in Southwest ISD, that you've got probably a fairly large number of school-age kids there. Has there been coordination with the school district about the potential for new students at their campuses?
Yes, we talked to them, and quite frankly, they're in need of students. They built a brand-new gigantic high school and a middle school, and the property we're building for you right now, Bristol at Somerset, is catty-corner to it. So it provides a great atmosphere of very short commute to the school, and it's just in the other direction, probably 4 miles to the high school from these sites. What's really exciting about them, too, is Toyota's in the midst of expanding, Navistar's in the midst of expanding, and all of a sudden, JSB shows up. They are the largest manufacturer of farm implements in Europe, and they're going to build the biggest factory in the United States 2 miles to the southeast of us. So there's a tremendous need for the housing, obviously, as there is all over San Antonio. But this particular opportunity for us and for you is to really serve working class people, single moms, veterans, and that's always been our focus.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? No further questions. I'll entertain a motion. Oh, yes, correct. This will be a motion for items 13 and 14.
So moved.
I second.
We have a first and a second to approve items number 13 and 14. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Both motions carry.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
absolutely. On a side note, Mr. Papoon, we appreciate your partnership. Thank you. So, item number 15, update and discussion regarding Beacon program overview. Brandy Perez, Chief Operating. Oh, actually, Melissa.
Hi. So you have me today.
Fantastic.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to go over the Beacon Communities Overview. I know over the past couple of months there's been a lot of discussion about Beacon, and so we did put a presentation together for you. I hope that it answers most of your questions. If it doesn't, that's okay. Feel free to stop me, and I will try my best to answer whatever questions you do have. Okay? All right, thank you. So first I want to start by introducing the team. As I mentioned, I'm Melissa Garza. I am the Director of Beacon Communities. In April of this coming year, I'll complete 18 years with Opportunity Home, so I've been here for quite a bit. I also have my assistant directors with me in the room today that I'm very excited to introduce to you. First is Gary McLaren. He is one of 2 assistant directors, and then I have Normila Cardenas with me as well. So, okay, thank you, Devlin. Next slide, please. We do have a total of 127 positions within Beacon currently. So who are we? Beacon is responsible for the professional management of Opportunity Home's mixed income affordable housing portfolio. Oftentimes there is a confusion with the partnership portfolio. We are not part of that. We're not part of the partnership. We do our own managing of affordable housing. In this role, we provide comprehensive management services that include leasing, maintenance, compliance, oversight, and financial management. At this time, we have 4,962 multifamily units spread across 34 communities. On the slide, you'll see a map with the dots of our locations. So we are spread out throughout the city of San Antonio, and we also have a development in Converse. The properties that are include 2 partnership communities managed by Beacon. So Alhambra Apartments, which is 140 units, and San Juan 143 units, are managed by Beacon, but Beacon does not own those properties at this time. So what's interesting about Beacon and unique is that we manage layering of programs. And so we wanted to provide you with a case study to go over what that layering would look like. And we used San Juan 2. It is a new property that came in last year in May. And it has 90 tax credit units. 48 units are layered with public housing. So they are both tax credit and public housing. And then we have 6 market units. So anytime that you talk about layering, you talk about, it comes hand in hand with regulatory agencies. So we get to work with HUD, the IRS, TDHCA, and Bexar County. 144 units are at the 30% extremely low income, 60% very low income, and 80%. So it's a total of 144 units, and each of those units has its own designation, except for those 6 market. They are not designated at any income level. They're straight market.
If I could just point out on that sheet, if we could go back to it, Commissioners, San Juan 2 was a transaction we entered into, I think, in about 2006. And at that time period, we were actually putting public housing in all of our new developments. And so you see here, there were 48 units of public housing that were in that development. And that was the common structure we were using at the time. And subsequent to that, we did move away from it as an organization, but now we're refocused on that and trying to take some of the 1,700 fair cloth units that we have available and trying to reattach them to new development. So that's the goal we have going forward. So I just wanted to point that out. Historically, we did the structure a little bit different than we're doing now.
I have a question, but also I would like to request that we have a discussion as a board or a briefing on why we moved away from the strategy and how we're going to be adopting that. So I'd request to the chairman that we could get an update on that from staff. And then the question I had was regarding the 6 units at market. And is this a pretty common structure for many of the 34 properties in the portfolio, that you'll have a fairly small number of market units along with that majority of low and very low?
It's going to depend on the type of tax credit that what was placed on the development. So anytime you have a 9%, it'll be 100%, typically at 60%. So there's never any type of market within those properties. When we're talking about 4% that are combined with bonds, it depends on how the pro forma looked at that time when that property was being developed. And basically, market units are used to help with that income source, right? Because you can get more rent on those units. So it's going to depend on the pro forma and the cost of construction at the time that these properties were developed.
And what I'm interested in is about the leasability of those units. Do you see that those market rate units are leasing up, or are they lagging in desirability compared to the other units?
It honestly depends on the location of the properties. If we're looking at San Juan 2, there has been some struggle with leasing those market units because of COVID, of course, individuals who struggled during that time. But what I want you to know also about market units is that we can put Section 8 vouchers into them. So although they're market, it doesn't mean that there can't be subsidy tied to them in the form of a Section 8 program. And the thing that we do make it mandatory is through the development process is that every one of our properties has to accept Section 8 vouchers. It's part of the development deal or agreement.
And I would just add, historically, the structure that we used did not have very many market units. The one exception was Hemisview, which we negotiated with the Lavaca neighborhood, an 80-20 split. I think it's 80% market and 20% affordable. But that's the one exception to that rule that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any? Go
Okay,
ahead,
so part of what we do is management, leasing, maintenance, and compliance. And as we go through the presentation, we're going to focus more on those items. So management. We are comprised of properties within Beacon's portfolio or in partnership with asset management. So as I mentioned, Beacon owns majority of the properties that it manages, with the exception of the two that were mentioned previously. San Juan 2 and Alhambra, San Juan 1 and Alhambra are two mixed income properties that are directly managed by Beacon. And then the oversight that we have on those, we also oversee third-party management of 4 mixed income properties. At this time, there is not a capacity to manage them directly, and so we have asked third-party managers to come in. Those are going to be our Legacy at O'Connor, Legacy at Science Park, we have Refugio, and then the Ravello is one of the new ones that we have acquired and we are not managing at this time. The one change that we have made that I'm excited to report is previously, before I took over Beacon, we did not have a direct oversight of our third-party managed properties. And we made that change with a position that we named Transition and Portfolio Manager, who Jason Gonzalez is currently in that role. And he is not only responsible for ensuring that partnership properties that come into Beacon are being transitioned properly through a checklist, but he also has oversight of those properties that are being managed by someone else. He meets with them on a weekly basis, at least virtually, and then every 2 weeks it's a mandatory in-person meeting with the regional manager and the on-site management team. And then what's key to remember about, or to point out about Beacon's portfolio, is that we obtain the property outside of its 15-year compliance period. So at the minimum, it's 15 years old when it comes into Beacon's portfolio. So some of the leasing activities that we do is we do lease to market rate renters as well as populations in as many as 7 affordable housing programs, and those are listed for you. The home program, tax credit, PBRA, which is a HUD program. We do have public housing that's a HUD program, the affordable housing program, the housing choice voucher, and the multifamily bond program. Maintenance, what is involved in our maintenance services is we do conduct periodic maintenance through work order requests and physical inspections. We do maintain an in-house heating, ventilation, and air conditioning team, which is something that not a lot of managing agents can say. We have our own HVAC team, which saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars a year by doing a lot of those repairs and replacements in-house. We also ensure compliance with HUD's Real Estate Assessment Center, which is REAC inspections for public housing. Tax credit units do have a UPCS inspection, a physical inspection that takes place once every 3 years. And they are scored based on the physical condition of a property's buildings, common areas, and interior of the units. So the compliance team, I'm really also excited to share with you that we have our own in-house compliance team. Currently, there are 4 available positions. We have 3 filled at this time. We do have to adhere to multiple regulatory requirements in all of the programs that I mentioned in a previous slide. We do have to meet lender requirements for 3 banks. We report to 6 regulatory agencies, which are also listed there, responsible for the coordination of contract renewals and implementation of new requirements. So anytime HUD comes out with a new contract, we're responsible for reviewing it, making sure that we are in compliance, and then to get signatures for that new contract. And then we conduct annual file reviews to ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. So now we're going to go into our affordable programs. Again, if there's any questions, it's a lot of information, just feel free to stop me. So public housing, currently we have 350 public housing units within Beacon. It is administered by HUD. There are 2 separate funding streams, which is operating subsidy for each development's cost to operate, excluding utilities and taxes. And there's also a capital fund for development, financing, modernization, and management improvements. PH houses low-income families at Beacon Properties, and the rent is calculated based on a total tenant payment on 30% of monthly adjusted income. So it is income-based, it's an income-based calculation. The next affordable program is our PBRA program. It's also administered by HUD. It's funded through private financing, private equity, or equity raised from the sale of light tech units, which is that low-income housing tax credit. We currently have 557 of these units within our portfolio, and this program assists very and extremely low-income families, and is attached to that specific property. So it cannot be moved from any other property. It is a contract with the property that it's contracted with HUD. The TTP is the greatest, so basically the rent is at TTP and is the greatest of either 30% of the monthly adjusted income, 10% of the family's monthly income, or a minimum rent of $25. We have the home program. It's a small component of Beacon, but we do have 11 home units. It is also administered by HUD, and HUD allocates federal block grants to state and local governments to create affordable housing for low and very low income families by strengthening public-private partnerships. Home units are set at a low home, which is 50% of AMI and below, and high home, which is 80% AMI and below. Then we have the Light Tech program, which is our low-income housing tax credit program. And there are 1,273 tax credit units within our portfolio. It is administered by the IRS. TDHCA is the regulatory agent that oversees this program. And TDHCA is the one that receives and allocates the credits through the housing tax credit program to direct private capital to develop and preserve affordable rental housing for low-income families. The rents are set annually by HUD at either 30% AMI and below, 50%, or 60% AMI and below. We have an additional program called the bond program. There's 2,685 units under this program. It is administered by the IRS. Developers use the amount borrowed from investors to build affordable housing and agree to set aside a certain percentage of units at low and very low income households. The mortgage payments on the loans are used to repay the investors, and rent for bond is calculated based on market rent unless another program rules apply. So as I mentioned before, a lot of times your 4% tax credits are also combined with bond. So in the case where a 4% or a tax credit is layered, it would be the tax credit rent amount. We also have the AHP program. It's administered by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC. The FDIC will sell properties at or above a property's net realizable market value established by the FDIC and may provide a loan at the market interest rate. So purchasers must agree, though, to make units available to low and very low income households at affordable rent limits for a period of 50 years. It sets its rent limits at 50% AMI or below, or 80% AMI and below. We have 150 units in that program. So the next thing we want to talk about is eligibility. Families' annual income must not exceed program limits to be eligible for the program that they are applying for. And HUD establishes these income limits annually for all affordable programs. Income limits are based on the average median income of an area and are adjusted for family size. Successful pre-screening for criminal history, bad debt, citizenship status, residential history, employment, and history, and of course the current income. On the right side of the screen, you will see what those categories mean. So what does it mean that a family is a low income? That means they're at or below 80%. And then it breaks it down by each category. We wanted to provide you with an idea of what that meant in the form of dollars. As we mentioned in the previous slide, it is based on household size. So when you're talking about a 30% income, As you'll see, for one person, that's $17,400 a year. But if you're looking at a household of 8, it's still 30%, but the income limit is increased to $46,630. Again, that is just used to determine eligibility. So at initial move-in, they have to be at or below these dollar amounts. Income eligibility, we wanted to break down for you each program and the income limits that they serve. And then attached to that is that AMI, that area median income. I won't go through each one of them because we've discussed them in previous slides, but if you have a question about one of them, I'd be more than happy to answer it. Okay, well, that is my presentation for you today. Do y'all have any questions?
This was really helpful just to understand the breadth and context of Beacon. I know historically there have been a lot of issues with the Beacon properties, and there's been a lot of overhaul happening. So my curiosity is when we might hear about that, right? Like this is where it was, this is what we focused on, here's where it's at, and if there's any, areas still of risk or, that the board should be aware of.
So we're actually going to do a closed session today,
Okay.
And we will do a Beacon discussion.
Okay.
And so we're prepared to provide some information for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thanks, Melissa.
All right, thank you all.
Appreciate it. Item number 16, President's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll just run through this quickly. There were a number of activities we had. This past weekend, we had many of our kids involved in the San Antonio Childhood Cancer Soccer Camp. I think we had over 50 or 60 kids involved in this. I wanted to let everybody know that we're planning to observe the winter holiday, and as we do every year, we'll be closing between Christmas and New Year's for our offices. Of course, maintenance and property management will still be responding to any property issues that they need to. And we will have employees working. It's not like everybody will be off. We opened our Housing Choice Voucher program for applicants, and we received about 15,000 applicants in the first half of November. So the 97,000 families that we often talk about on our wait list has increased to over 100,000 at this point. And we'll continue to report that number to the board, but I just wanted to clarify that we do not have any duplications in that number. Our staff actually goes through and matches electronically to make sure there are no duplications. So in the past, when we quoted 97,000 families on our wait list, that does not include any duplications whatsoever. We had a close-to-home press conference that we participated in a few weeks ago, and we were joined by various other of our partners, and of course the mayor was there, and that was on Saturday, November 11th. We had a special luncheon to honor our employees that are veterans, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for joining us at that event. It was at the Liberty Bar, and we tried to change and have a different type of event than from what we've had in the past, and so we got to spend some time with employees that served in the military. The Assisted Housing Programs Department hosted a virtual landlord work group, and so there was a great discussion for landlords occurring there. We also are doing an event. I think we've done about 3 of them this year, where we it's called a lease-up fair, and we invite landlords that have available apartments and also residents that are looking for homes to connect. And I believe we have a full-blown landlord symposium scheduled for next year as well. There was a turkey distribution, and we want to thank District 3 City Councilwoman Phyllis Villagran and the Gonzaga Foundation for that. There was an event called Reframing Housing Advocate Training, and that was on November 7th and 8th, and we had participation in that as well. San Antonio for Growth on the east side, Halo East 2023 donated 300 books to our families that were participating. It seems like a long time ago, a month ago, we had our Halloween event. It was a great celebration for our employees. And then finally, we recognized Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, and we had employees participating in that as well. And that will conclude the President's report for today.
Great, thanks, Ed. We have our 3 nonprofit entities. I guess we will just read into those.
So we can do those and then come back for the closed session on the main
Okay.
meeting.
All right, so let's, we'll go into, what's the terminology? I'm losing my mind. The board, we'll suspend this one.
Recess, we're recessing the
Recess,
meeting.
okay.
Recess is fun, remember that.
Okay. The Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation meeting. We don't have to do roll because we're all still here, I imagine. We'll call the meeting to order. Do I need to read all that to go into that? No. Okay. So we've got, do we have any citizens to be heard for Las Fadas?
There are no individuals signed up to speak.
Okay. We have approval of the minutes for the October 4th Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation meeting minutes.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have 2 consent items. Resolution 23 LVPFC-12-06 and 23 LVPFC-12-07. Okay. Do we have a motion on those? These are the 2 items that we approved in regular board meeting. So
So moved.
we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Those 2 motions carry, and we will adjourn the Las Fadas Public Facility Corporation meeting. On to the San Antonio Housing Facility Corporation meeting. Don't have to do that. Call the meeting to order. Do we have any citizens for this one? Okay. We have minutes for October 4th for the Housing Facility Corporation meeting minutes.
So moved.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes pass, and we have the 2 consent items as well, 23 FAC-11-15 and 23 FAC-12-06. One's for Vista at Reed and the other one's for Galabra Commons. If you have any questions, I'll accept a motion.
Just a question about the timing. So we're getting these approved before the end of the year so they can go into the next round at the state?
Correct. Okay. No other questions? I'll entertain a motion for both these items.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve consent items 4 and 5. We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Those 2 consent items pass. We will adjourn that one. And we'll move into Sendero 1 Public Facility Corporation meeting. Are there any citizens on this one? No. Okay, we have minutes from November 7th. Gosh, it's been that long? Okay. We have a motion to approve the minutes from 2013.
Don't have any.
Oh, unavailable. Just kidding. Thank you. That's what I get. All righty. We have a consent item, though. 23 SEN-11-15. Oh, okay, that's what this one is. I'll entertain a motion for the consent item number 4.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question
Yes.
before we?
Yeah, that's fine.
So at some point, and I know we discussed this before, I would love to see a graphic or a description of, because it specifically mentions the moving to work funding, of how those dollars are invested and then recouped for the MTW program.
We've had, I'm saying, okay. Beyond that, are there any other questions with regards to this consent item? If none, I'll accept a motion on this one.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second on approving consent item number 4. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's approved. We'll adjourn that meeting and
Reconvene.
reconvene. Thank you. Our board meeting, and could you read us into close?
Yes, sir. The board will be convening in closed session to discuss real estate and consult with its attorney under sections 551.071 and 551.072 of the Texas Government Code regarding Beacon Communities and development of land. The board will also be discussing personnel and consulting with its attorney under sections 551.074 and 551.071 concerning the President CEO performance goals and appraisals for 2023-2024. The time is 2:11.
All righty. We'll go to closed session.
The time is 4 o'clock, and Opportunity Home San Antonio is now adjourned.